The stars looked different from the viewport of the Horizon's Promise. Commander Taman stood with his hands clasped behind his back, watching the massive station grow larger as they approached. It was his first time seeing something built by aliens, and the sight took his breath away. The structure spiraled around a neutron star, gleaming white and silver, larger than Earth's moon. "We're being hailed," said the communications officer. Taman nodded and straightened his uniform. This was it. Humanity's first official meeting with the Galactic Council. Ambassador Hai-Jin joined him at the viewport. She was younger than most diplomats, but she had been chosen for her sharp mind and calm demeanor. "Are you nervous?" she asked. Taman smiled slightly. "Terrified." "You?" "Same." She smoothed down her formal robes. "But this is what we've dreamed of for centuries. We're not alone in the universe anymore." The ship docked with a gentle thud. The airlock hissed open, and they stepped into a corridor that seemed to shift colors with each step. Waiting for them were three beings that looked nothing like humans. One resembled a large insect with crystalline wings. Another was a floating sphere of light that pulsed with different colors. The third was covered in what looked like blue moss and had too many arms. The sphere of light spoke first, though it had no mouth. The words appeared directly in Taman's mind. "Welcome, humans of Earth. I am Counselor Vess of the Lumine. We will conduct the standard assessment." Hai-Jin bowed respectfully. "We are honored to be here. Humanity has long hoped to join the galactic community." The insect creature, introduced as Counselor Rix of the Vrin, clicked its mandibles. "All species undergo evaluation. It is simply procedure, nothing personal." They were led to a vast chamber filled with beings of every imaginable shape and size. Some floated, some crawled, some existed as pure energy. At the center was a platform where Taman and Hai-Jin were asked to stand. Devices descended from the ceiling, scanning them with lights that felt warm against their skin. The assessment took 3 hours. They were asked questions about Earth, about human biology, about their technology and history. Taman noticed that some of the questions seemed odd. How much gravity did Earth have? How much oxygen was in the atmosphere? What was the average lifespan of prey animals? He answered honestly, though he didn't understand why it mattered. When it was over, the council deliberated for only 15 minutes. Counselor Vess's light dimmed slightly, which Taman had learned meant disappointment. "We have reached our conclusion. Humanity is classified as a Class 7 species." Hai-Jin stepped forward. "What does that mean?" The mossy creature, Counselor Thorn, rustled its many arms. "It means you are, regrettably, quite ordinary. Your physical strength is below average. Your regenerative capabilities are minimal. Your lifespan is short by galactic standards. Your technological development is adequate but unremarkable. And your psionic potential is critically low." Amin felt his stomach sink. "So we can't join the council?" "Not at this time," Counselor Rix said, though there was something strange in its tone. Almost like relief. "You are granted observer status. You may maintain contact with us, but you must remain within your home system. This is for your own safety. The galaxy can be dangerous for fragile species." Kaijin's voice remained steady, but Taman could hear the hurt beneath it. "We understand. May we ask when we might be reconsidered?" Counselor Vess pulsed softly. "Perhaps in a few thousand years. Some species need time to evolve further before they can handle the rigors of galactic civilization." The meeting ended shortly after. As they walked back to their ship, Taman saw something that bothered him. A group of Vrin scientists were clustered near a terminal watching the humans leave. One of them was shaking, its wings trembling visibly. When it noticed Taman looking, it quickly turned away. "Did you see that?" Taman whispered to Hai-Jin. "See what?" "That Vrinnet looks scared." Hai-Jin frowned. "Why would it be scared? We're the weak ones, remember." Back on the Horizon's Promise, Taman called together his senior staff. Among them was Dr. Minho, Earth's leading xenobiologist. He had been studying all available data on the Council species during the journey. "Something doesn't add up," Minho said, pulling up holographic displays. "Look at this. Most Council species evolved on planets with gravity between 0.6 and 0.8 Earth standard. Their atmospheres average 12% oxygen. Earth has 21%. And their classification of our psionic ability as critically low doesn't make sense either. Why not? Asked one of the officers. Because according to their own data, psionic ability correlates with environmental sensitivity. Species that evolved in gentle environments develop strong psychic connections. But Earth isn't gentle. If anything, our lack of psionic ability might be because we evolved to be mentally resilient, not sensitive. Taemin studied the data. What are you suggesting? Minho hesitated. I'm suggesting they might not have told us the whole truth. Maybe they didn't reject us because we're too weak. Maybe they rejected us because we're too strong, and they don't want to admit it. Hajin shook her head. That's a serious accusation. Why would they lie? I don't know, Minho admitted. But I saw fear in some of those council members. And fear doesn't make sense if we're as harmless as they claim. The journey back to Earth took 3 weeks. During that time, Taemin reviewed every second of their interaction with the council. He watched the body language of the various species, studied their reactions, noted every hesitation and nervous gesture. The more he watched, the more convinced he became that Minho was right. Something was being hidden from them. When they arrived home, Earth was waiting for answers. News networks broadcast their arrival. Billions of people watched as Hyjin gave her address to the United Earth Assembly. We were not accepted into the Galactic Council, she said, her voice clear and strong. They have classified us as weak, as fragile, as unready. But I stand before you today to say that I do not accept their judgment. Humanity has overcome every challenge our world has thrown at us. We have survived ice ages and plagues, wars and disasters. We have risen from caves to reach the stars. If the Council cannot see our strength, then we will simply have to prove it to them. The assembly erupted in applause. Taemin watched from the wings, feeling a swell of pride. They had been rejected, yes. But humanity had never been good at accepting rejection. They would find out the truth. They would discover why the Council really feared them. And when they did, everything would change. 15 years had passed since the Council rejected humanity. In that time, Earth had not been idle. Mars now had a colony of 50,000 people. Europa's ice cities housed research stations that studied the ocean beneath the frozen surface. Titan's methane lakes were being harvested for fuel. Humanity had spread throughout their solar system like seeds taking root in hard soil. Captain Jiwan commanded the research vessel. Discovery's Edge. She was investigating strange readings near the boundary of Council space. Readings that didn't match any known natural phenomenon. Her crew was small, but skilled. They had been out here for 6 months, mapping anomalies that might one day lead to better faster-than-light technology. Captain, I'm picking up a structure, said her navigator. It's small, maybe the size of a building, but it's definitely artificial. Giwan leaned forward in her chair. Location. Just inside Council space, about 3 kilometers past the boundary marker. She knew the rules. Humans were forbidden from entering Council space without permission. But 3 kilometers was nothing, barely a violation. And this could be important. Take us in slowly. Passive scans only. Structure came into view. It was built into an asteroid, hidden and camouflaged. If they hadn't been looking for the specific energy signature, they would have missed it completely. It looked like a research outpost, the kind used for long-term observation. What would the Council be researching out here? Guan wondered aloud. There's nothing nearby except our solar system. Her communications officer, Doyen, went pale. Captain, I think they're researching us. I'm picking up data streams labeled with Earth designations. They've been watching us. Giwan made a decision that would change everything. Prepare a boarding team. I want to know what they've been watching and why. The outpost was abandoned, or so it seemed. Jiwan and 4 crew members entered through an airlock that wasn't locked. Inside, the corridors were sized for Vryn, with low ceilings and narrow passages. Everything was still powered on. Computer terminals glowed softly in the darkness. Dujan accessed the main database. His hands moved quickly across the alien interface. I'm downloading everything I can. Captain, you need to see this. On the screen were files and files about Earth, detailed analyses of human biology, studies of Earth's environment, projections about human expansion, and at the top of every file was a red symbol that translated to extreme caution. Guan opened one file at random. What she read made her blood run cold. Subject species: humans. Planet classification: Death World Class 9. Gravity: 3.2 times galactic standard. Atmospheric oxygen: 1.7 times safe levels. Radiation exposure: lethal to 73% of known species. Predator saturation: extreme. Disease: virulence. Catastrophic. Recommended action: quarantine and monitor. Under no circumstances reveal true classification to subjects. She read it again, not believing her eyes. Death World. Earth was classified as a death world. What does that mean? Asked one of her crew. Guan scrolled through more files, her heart pounding. It means everything they told us was a lie. They didn't reject us because we're weak. They rejected us because Earth is a nightmare planet that should have killed us 1,000,000 times over, and somehow we survived. Doyen pulled up another document. Look at this. It's a comparison chart. Average human strength versus council species. We're not weaker, Captain. We're 4 to 6 times stronger than most of them. Our bone density, our muscle mass, our cardiovascular system, it's all rated as extreme grade because we evolved in high gravity. More files appeared on the screen. Earth's oxygen levels would cause cell damage in most species. The background radiation from the sun would give them cancer. The bacteria in Earth's soil could kill them in ours. The insects, the plants, even the water had dangers that would terrify most galactic citizens. There's more, Doyen said quietly. A historical file. About Death World species. Guan opened it. What she read made her sick. Only 12 Death World planets had ever been discovered in galactic history. Of those 12, only 3 had produced intelligent life. The first species, called the Krell, had reached space and immediately began conquering neighboring systems. They were unstoppable, adapted to environments that killed other species, immune to weapons that relied on environmental vulnerabilities. It took the combined might of the entire galaxy to destroy them 3,000. Years ago, the second Death World species never left their planet. They destroyed themselves in nuclear war before achieving sustainable spaceflight. Humans were the third. They're afraid of us, Juwan whispered. They've been afraid of us from the beginning. Alarms suddenly blared. Red lights flashed in the corridors. We've been detected, Doyen said. Council security ships are incoming. Juwan made a decision. Download everything. All of it. We need to get this information back to Earth. They ran back to their ship, but they weren't fast enough. 3 Vryn security vessels surrounded the Discovery's edge before they could escape. Guan was hailed immediately. Human vessel, you have violated Council space and accessed classified information. Surrender yourselves for judgment. Guan looked at Doyen. Did you get everything? Yes, Captain. All files downloaded. She opened a channel. We surrender. But I want to speak to Counselor Thexon. I know that name was in the files as the one who argued against deceiving us. There was a long pause. Then a different voice came through, one that buzzed with the characteristic sound of Vryn speech. This is Counselor Thexon. Captain Juwan, you have placed me in a very difficult position. You've been lying to my entire species, Juwan said. I think I've placed you exactly where you deserve to be. You do not understand the situation. If the full council learns you have discovered the truth, they will debate whether to eliminate humanity before you become a threat. Guan felt ice in her veins. You would commit genocide because you're afraid? We did it before, Thexon said quietly. To the Krell, it is the greatest shame in our history, but it was deemed necessary. There are counselors who would do it again. I am not one of them, but I am also not the majority. Then what do you suggest? Come with us. Plead your case before the council. Let them see that humans are not like the Krell. Let them see that you can be reasoned with, that you desire peace. It is your only chance. Guan looked at her crew. They were afraid, but they were also angry. They had done nothing wrong except discover the truth. And if I refuse, then they will destroy your ship and claim it was an accident, and I will not be able to stop them. She thought of Earth, of the billions of people who had no idea they were living on a planet the galaxy considered a cosmic horror. She thought of the children growing up thinking they were weak and ordinary. She thought of humanity's potential locked away in a solar system because aliens were too afraid to let them out. "I'll come," she said, "but on one condition. My crew sends all the data we collected back to Earth first. No matter what happens to me, my people deserve to know the truth." Dexon was silent for a long moment. "Very well. You have 1 hour." Doyon worked frantically, compressing the files and preparing them for transmission. As Giwan watched, she wondered what would happen when Earth learned the truth. Would they be angry? Would they be proud? Would they finally understand why they had always felt like they were fighting against the universe itself? Because they were. Earth was a death world, and humans were its ultimate predators. The transmission was sent. Juwan and her crew surrendered themselves to the Council's security forces. As they were escorted away, she took one last look at the stars. Everything was about to change. The high chamber of the Galactic Council was enormous. Gyuan stood at the center of a circular platform surrounded by hundreds of alien beings. Some watched her with curiosity, others with barely concealed fear, and a few with what looked like hatred. She had been standing here for 3 hours while the council debated her fate. Counselor Rix. The Vrin representative spoke first. "The human has violated our most sacred law. She entered restricted space and accessed classified information. The penalty has always been clear." "Execution," murmured several counselors. Guan kept her face neutral, though her heart was pounding. She had known this might happen. But she had also sent the truth to Earth. Whatever happened to her now, her people would know what they really were. Counselor Thexon rose from his position. Unlike Rix, his wings were a deep blue color, and his voice carried weight. "Before we pass judgment, I believe we should discuss why the information was classified in the first place. Captain Jiwan, would you share what you discovered?" Giwan took a deep breath. This was her chance. "I discovered that you've been lying to humanity since first contact. You told us we were weak, fragile, and ordinary. But the truth is that Earth is classified as a death world, and you've been terrified of us from the beginning." The chamber erupted in angry buzzing, chittering, and pulsing lights. Counselor Vess, the luminae dimmed sharply. "You overstep, human. We protected you by keeping that information secret." "Protected us?" Giwan's voice rose. "Or protected yourselves? I read your files. I know about the Krell. You're afraid that we'll become like them." An elderly counselor, a being made of what looked like living stone, spoke in a voice like grinding boulders. "The Krell were monsters. They consumed everything in their path. 12 systems fell before we stopped them. Billions died. You assume we'll do the same," Juwan said. "Because we come from a harsh world." Counselor Thexon stepped forward. "Perhaps it is time the Council heard the full truth. Not just about the Krell, but about what makes Deathworld species different." He activated a holographic display that showed various planets. "Most life in the galaxy evolved on gentle worlds," Thexon explained. "Low gravity, stable climates, mild radiation, few predators. We had millions of years to develop intelligence in relative safety. We built our civilizations slowly, carefully. We learned to cooperate because cooperation was easy when resources were abundant and dangers were few." The display shifted to show Earth, rotating slowly. It looked beautiful, blue and green and white, but red warnings flashed around it. "Earth is different. Gravity 3 times our standard crushes most species. The oxygen in the air burns our lungs. The sun's radiation would kill us. The oceans are filled with predators that have no equivalent in our worlds. The land has animals that hunt in packs, that use tools, that plan and strategize. Even the plants are dangerous. Even the bacteria." Another counselor Giwan didn't recognize spoke up. "This is why we quarantine Deathworlders. They are dangerous by nature." Guan couldn't stay quiet. "You're right that Earth is harsh, but you're wrong about what that means. Yes, we evolved to be strong. Yes, we're resilient. But we also learned to be creative, to adapt, to solve problems that would kill other species. And most importantly, we learned to work together because we had to. No human survives alone on Earth. We need each other. Counselor Thexan nodded. This is what I tried to tell the Council 15 years ago. Humans are not Krell. The Krell evolved as solitary apex predators. They had no concept of cooperation beyond breeding. But humans are social creatures. Everything you've built together. That means nothing, Counselor Rix hissed. The Krell were also social in their own way. They had hierarchies and colonies. It did not stop them from destroying everything they touched. Gi-wan felt frustration building. Then tell me what would convince you we're different. What test could we pass? What proof could we offer? The chamber fell silent. Finally, Counselor Vess pulsed slowly. There is no test. We cannot risk another war like the one with the Krell. The decision has already been made. You will be released, Captain Juan. You and your crew will return to Earth, and humanity will remain in isolation. For how long? Forever if necessary. Juan felt her hands clench into fists. Back on Earth, she had trained in martial arts. She knew she could probably fight her way out of this chamber. The guards were Vryn, smaller than her, evolved in low gravity. She could take them. But then what? Start a war. Prove the Council right? She took a slow breath and unclenched her fists. I understand. But I want you to know something. The data I collected has already been sent to Earth. My people know the truth now. They know you've been afraid of them. They know you lied, and they will not forget. Is that a threat? Counselor Rix demanded. No, Jiwan said quietly. It's a prediction. Humanity doesn't respond well to being caged. You can keep us in our solar system, but you can't stop us from growing, from learning, from becoming more than you fear we are. And one day, whether you like it or not, we will be your equals. The only question is whether we'll be your equals as friends or as enemies. Counselor Thexan looked sad. I wish it could be different. I truly do, but the Council has spoken. Jiwan was escorted back to her ship. Doyen and the rest of her crew were already there, looking shaken but unharmed. As they prepared for departure, Doyen showed her something on his tablet. Captain, I managed to maintain a link to Earth during the trial. They received all the data. And there's been a response. Juan read the message. It was from Ambassador Hygiene, now Earth's primary representative to the Council. Received and understood. Humanity will prove them wrong. Stand strong. The journey back to Earth took 2 weeks. During that time, Juan couldn't stop thinking about the trial. She kept replaying Counselor Thexana's words about gentle worlds and harsh ones. It was true that Earth had been brutal. Humans had evolved dodging predators, surviving ice ages, fighting diseases that had no cure. Every generation had faced extinction and survived, but that wasn't something to be ashamed of. That was something to be proud of. When they finally arrived home, Earth had changed. The data had gone public. Every human now knew they weren't weak. They knew their strength was real, earned through millions of years of survival. The news networks showed people celebrating in the streets. It's not because they wanted war, but because they finally understood themselves. Ji-Wan gave her report to the United Earth Assembly. She stood before representatives from every nation and told them everything. When she finished, the assembly was silent. Then General Junho stood. He was an older man, scarred from the resource wars of the 2200s. The Council thinks they can keep us locked up forever. I say we show them they're wrong. We have the strength. We should use it. But President Soman shook her head. Violence is exactly what they expect from us. We need to prove we're better than that. The debate raged for hours. Yuan listened to both sides, understanding their anger and their hope. Finally, she stood to speak again. I've thought a lot about what makes us human, she said, and I think it's this. We never give up, but we also never stop trying to be better. Earth made us strong, yes, but it also made us compassionate, because we needed each other to survive. I think we should show the Council both sides of humanity, our strength and our kindness. Let them see what they've been missing. The Assembly voted. Humanity would remain peaceful, but would not hide their true nature. They would continue to grow, to explore their own system, to develop their technology. And they would wait for the day when the Council could no longer ignore them. G1 returned to her ship, promoted to Admiral for her bravery. She didn't know what the future held. But she knew one thing: humanity had spent millions of years fighting to survive. They could wait a little longer for the galaxy to accept them. They were patient. They were strong. And they were ready for whatever came next. 3 years after G1's trial, Earth had transformed. The knowledge that they were a Death World species had changed how humans saw themselves. Cities on Mars thrived, with populations now exceeding 200,000. Europa's underwater research stations had discovered microbial life in the deep ocean. Titan's colonies were becoming self-sufficient. Humanity was growing, expanding, becoming everything the Council had feared, but they were doing it peacefully. President Soman had insisted on that. Every new colony, every new station, every advancement was shared publicly with the Council. Humanity was proving they could be trusted. Not everyone agreed with this approach. General Junho had gained supporters, people who believed humanity should take what was theirs by force. They held rallies, gave speeches, demanded that Earth stop asking for permission and start taking action. The tension was growing. Dr. Minho worked in a laboratory on Earth's largest space station. He was older now, his hair gray, but his mind was as sharp as ever. He had spent 3 years studying Earth's biology through the lens of what they had learned. If Earth was so hostile, what did that mean for everything that lived there? The answer was revolutionary. President Soman, you need to see this, Minho said during a video call. He held up a vial of glowing green liquid. This is algae from the Mariana Trench. It survives in conditions that would kill any known galactic species. Extreme pressure, no light, toxic chemicals. But I've modified it slightly. Do you know what it can do? Tell me, Salman said. It can terraform a dead planet. In simulations, this algae could convert a toxic atmosphere into breathable air in less than 50 years. The Council's best terraforming technology takes thousands of years. Ours could do it in a human lifetime. Salman leaned forward. What else? Minho pulled up more data. Human antibodies. We're exposed to so many diseases on Earth that our immune systems are incredibly advanced. I've been working with a researcher named Yuna. She's brilliant, only 26 years old. She discovered that human antibodies can cure diseases that have plagued the galaxy for millennia. The Varin have a genetic disorder that kills 10% of their population. We can cure it. The Luminae suffer from energy degradation as they age. We can stop it. Earth's hostility isn't a weakness, Salman said slowly. It's a gift. Exactly. Every organism on Earth has evolved solutions to problems the galaxy didn't know could be solved. Our plants can grow in toxic soil. Our bacteria can break down waste that the Council considers permanent. Even our animals have traits that could revolutionize galactic biology. Salman felt hope rising. This could change everything. If we can offer them cures, solutions, technology they desperately need, they might finally accept us, Minho finished. But before Salman could act on this new hope, everything changed. The emergency broadcast came through every communication channel in the solar system. Counselor Thexan's face appeared, and for the first time, Giwan saw true terror in an alien's expression. People of Earth, Thexan said, his voice shaking. I come to you with news that affects the entire galaxy. 3 days ago, a mining operation in the galactic core awakened something that should have remained buried. A Krell dreadnought, dormant for 3,000 years, has come online. Juan, watching from her ship, felt her blood turn to ice. The Krell. The reason the Council feared Deathworlders. Thexan continued. The Dreadnought's artificial intelligence does not recognize the current galactic civilization. It believes the Krell Empire still exists. It has begun attacking Council worlds, and we cannot stop it. Our weapons are ineffective. Our strategies fail. In 3 days, it has destroyed 2 colonies and is moving toward more populated systems. The broadcast showed footage of the dreadnought. It was massive, dark, covered in weapons that tore through council ships like they were made of paper. Explosions bloomed in space. Ships tried to flee and were hunted down. The footage cut off abruptly. Vexen's image returned. The council has debated for 2 days. We are facing extinction. And so, despite everything, despite our fears and our rules and our pride, I have been authorized to make this request. He paused, and Jiwan could see how much this cost him. Humanity, we need your help. We need the perspective of a Death World species to fight a Death World weapon. We are asking you to save us. The broadcast ended. For a moment, the entire solar system was silent. Then the arguments began. General Junho was the first to speak publicly. They rejected us. They lied to us. They kept us prisoners in our own system. And now they want our help? Let them face the consequences of their own war. He had support. Millions agreed with him. Why should humanity risk their lives for people who had treated them as dangerous animals? But President Soman saw it differently. She called an emergency session of the United Earth Assembly. Guan was there, as was Minho and young researcher Yuna. The chamber was packed. We have a choice, Soman said. We can let the council face the Krell alone and prove them right about Deathworlders being selfish and dangerous. Or we can help them and prove that humanity is capable of compassion even toward those who wronged us. General Junho stood. Compassion is a luxury, Madam President. They would not help us if the situation were reversed. You're probably right, Salman agreed. But we're not them. We're human. And humans don't abandon people to die just because we're angry. Yuna stood, her voice nervous but determined. I've been studying the council species. They've lived in peace for so long that they've forgotten how to fight. They've never had to be creative in combat, never had to adapt under pressure. But humans? We've been fighting our entire existence. Not because we wanted to, but because we had to. If we help them, we're not just saving their lives. We're showing them who we really are, Minho added. And if we succeed, if we prove ourselves, they'll have to accept us. Not as charity, but as equals. The assembly debated for 6 hours. Finally, they voted. It was close, but the decision was made. Humanity would help. But Salman added one condition. She recorded a message to Counselor Vexen. We will help you fight the Krell. We will send our ships and our soldiers. We will do everything we can to save your people. But when this is over, when the crisis is past, the Council will grant humanity full membership with all rights and privileges. We will no longer be observers. We will be equals. Or we will fight this battle alone, save who we can, and you will owe us everything. Vexen's response came within an hour. The Council agrees to your terms. Juan stood on the bridge of Earth's newest warship, the Defiance. It had been built in secret over the past 3 years, incorporating everything humanity had learned from studying Council technology and improving it. Around her, a fleet of 50 ships prepared for departure. She looked at her crew. They were afraid, but they were ready. Humanity was going to war. Not for conquest, not for revenge, but to prove that strength and compassion could exist together. Earth's death-world nature had made them survivors. Now they would show the galaxy what survivors could do. Admiral Timon stood on the bridge of the flagship Unity, watching as Earth's fleet emerged from faster-than-light travel. Around them, the galactic core burned with ancient stars and cosmic dust, and there, dominating the view screen, was the Krell dreadnought. It was larger than a city. Black metal covered in weapons that still glowed with power after 3,000 years of sleep. Even from this distance, Taman could feel its wrongness. This was a machine built by a species that knew only conquest. Getting readings now, said his tactical officer. The dreadnought has destroyed 5 Council fleets. Current estimate puts Council losses at over 40,000 ships and 2 billion lives. Taman felt the weight of those numbers. 2 billion people dead in less than a week. The Krell AI was efficient and merciless. A communication came through from Counselor Vexen, was coordinating the Council's remaining forces. Admiral Taman, we have tried everything. Conventional weapons barely scratch its hull. It predicts our movements and counters them perfectly. We believe it is using advanced probability calculations to determine our tactics. That's because you fight logically, Taman said. The Krell AI expects logical opponents. But humans don't always fight logically. Sometimes we're desperate. Sometimes we're stupid. And sometimes that's exactly what wins battles. He turned to his fleet. Giwan was commanding a strike group of 20 ships. Captain Hannah led the fighter squadrons. Sergeant Kyung was ready with his boarding teams. And throughout the fleet, human soldiers waited. Knowing they were about to face something that had nearly destroyed the galaxy once before, Taman opened a channel to all ships. This is Admiral Taman. I won't lie to you. The odds are bad. That thing out there has killed billions. It was built by a species even more dangerous than we're supposed to be. But here's what the Council doesn't understand about humans. We don't care about odds. We care about what needs to be done. And right now, the galaxy needs saving. So let's show them what a real Death World species can do. The fleet moved forward. The Krell dreadnought detected them immediately and began firing. Energy beams tore through space, each one powerful enough to vaporize a ship. The Council fleets had tried to dodge, to maintain formations, to fight carefully. That hadn't worked. Taman gave the order his tactical officer thought was insane. All ships random evasive patterns. No coordination. Every captain makes their own decisions. Confuse its targeting. 50 human ships began moving in ways that made no tactical sense. Some dove directly at the dreadnought. Others spiraled randomly. A few even retreated briefly before charging again. The Krell AI tried to predict their movements and failed. Its weapons fired at where ships should be but weren't. It's working, breathed the tactical officer. The AI can't calculate chaos. Captain Hannah led her fighter squadron in a pattern she called the Swarm. Hundreds of small craft moved independently, attacking from every angle. The dreadnought's point defense systems couldn't track them all. Some fighters were destroyed, but others got through, damaging weapon systems and sensors. Guan's strike group used another human tactic, the sacrifice play. 3 of her ships were badly damaged early in the fight. Instead of retreating, they accelerated to ramming speed and slammed into the dreadnought's hangar bays. The Krell, I hadn't expected that. What species destroys their own ships deliberately? A species from a death world. That's who. A species that learned survival means sometimes you give everything. While the dreadnought was distracted by the external attack. Sergeant Kyung and his boarding team launched from a stealth transport. They were wearing heavy combat armor, carrying weapons designed to work in the extreme environments Earth had taught them to survive. They cut through the dreadnought's hull and entered its corridors. Inside, the ship was a nightmare. Ancient technology hummed with power. Automated defenses activated, firing on the boarding team. But Kung's soldiers had trained for this. They had practiced fighting in zero gravity, in toxic atmospheres, in conditions that would kill most species in minutes. This was just another Tuesday for people from Earth. Where's the core? Kyung shouted over the sound of gunfire. 3 levels down, answered his tech specialist. But there are defense drones everywhere. Then we go through them. The human soldiers fought with a ferocity that would have terrified the Council if they could see it. They used tactics developed over thousands of years of Earth's wars. They covered each other, adapted to threats in real time, and simply refused to stop, even when wounded. One soldier kept fighting with a broken arm. Another continued after taking damage that should have killed him. Because that's what Death Worlders do. They survive. Outside, Taman saw his fleet was taking heavy losses. 15 ships destroyed. Thousands of crew dead. But they were winning. The dreadnought's firing rate had decreased. Its movements were becoming erratic. The Krell AI was experiencing something it hadn't felt in 3,000 years. Uncertainty. G1 opened a channel to Taman. Admiral, we're not going to destroy this thing with external firepower. We need to overload its reactor from the inside. My team can do it. You'll never get out in time, Taman said. I know, Temin closed his eyes briefly. This was the hardest part of command. Accepting sacrifice? Counselor Dexon, are you seeing this? The Vrin's voice came through, thick with emotion. Yes, Admiral. Captain Juan, there is no need for this. We can find another way. No, Guan said firmly. There isn't time. Sergeant Kung's team is already at the reactor level. I'm taking my ship in to extract them after they set the overload. We'll have 2 minutes to get clear. That's enough. It wasn't enough. Everyone knew it wasn't enough. But Juan had made her choice. Her ship, the Defiance, accelerated toward the dreadnought. Behind her, Captain Hannah's fighters provided cover, sacrificing themselves to give Jiwan a clear path. The Defiance crashed through the damaged hangar bay and landed inside the dreadnought. Kyung's team reached the reactor core. It was massive, pulsing with energy that had been stored for millennia. The tech specialists set up the overload sequence while the other soldiers held off wave after wave of defense drones. Timer set, the specialist said. 2 minutes until detonation. They ran. Through corridors filled with enemies, past automated defenses, over the bodies of their own wounded. They reached the hangar where Jiwan waited with the Defiance. The ship's doors were open. Everyone, and Jiwan shouted. The soldiers piled into the ship. Kyung did a quick count. We're all here. Jiwan launched immediately. The Defiance tore out of the Dreadnought's hangar with only 90 seconds until detonation. But the damaged ship couldn't accelerate fast enough. The blast radius would catch them. Temma watched helplessly. Juan, you're not going to make it. I know, she said calmly. Admiral, tell Earth that we did it. Tell them we've proved the Council wrong, Captain. Taemin's voice broke. It's okay. Every human knows the risks. We're Death Worlders, remember? We do what needs to be done. But then something unexpected happened. 3 Council ships, vessels from species that had voted to keep humanity in isolation, moved between the Defiance and the Dreadnought. Counselor Vexen's voice came through. Captain Juan, you will not die today. Not if we have anything to say about it. The 3 ships deployed emergency shields, creating a barrier between the Defiance and the Dreadnought. It wouldn't save them, but it might save Juan. The reactor detonated. Light-filled space, brighter than a star. The Krell Dreadnought, the nightmare that had killed billions, was torn apart from the inside. The 3 Council ships vanished in the blast. But the Defiance, battered and burning, tumbled out of the explosion. Medical teams to the Defiance. Taemin ordered. Get everyone out. Jiwan and her crew survived. Injured, but alive. Kung's entire boarding team made it. The sacrifice of the 3 Council ships had given them just enough time. The battle was over. The Krell Dreadnought was destroyed, but the cost had been heavy. 20 human ships lost, 8,000 human lives, and 3 Council vessels that had given everything to save their former enemies. In the aftermath, as rescue teams worked and the fleet regrouped, Counselor Vexen addressed both the Council and humanity. Today, we witnessed something we thought impossible. Humans fought not with mindless aggression, but with courage and sacrifice. They saved us when we did not deserve saving. They proved that Death Worlders are not all the same. The Krell were conquerors. Humans are survivors. And there is a profound difference. The Council voted unanimously. Humanity was granted full membership with all rights and privileges. The quarantine was lifted. Earth's medical advances, terraforming technology, and biological knowledge would be shared with the galaxy. In return, humans would have access to faster-than-light networks, trade routes, and the accumulated knowledge of 800 species. Taemin stood with Juwan in the medical bay after the ceremony. She was bandaged but smiling. We did it, she said. We proved them wrong. No, Taemin said gently. We proved them right. We are dangerous. We are strong. We are capable of incredible destruction. But we also prove that we choose to be more than that. Earth made us survivors, but we made ourselves human. Back on Earth, President Soman addressed a planet that was celebrating. Young researcher Eunice stood beside her, along with Dr. Minho. Today marks a new chapter for humanity,